Good evening, everyone. We are here to discuss General Studies Paper 3. There are three questions from Economic and Social Geography in Paper 3. So the first question I've written on board, the question says, it was question number 12. Do you think India will meet 50% of its energy needs from renewable energy by 2030? Justify your answer. Full stop. How will the shift of subsidies from fossil fuels to renewables help achieve the above objective? Explain. In this question, suppose I have to introduce the topic. Now, examiner says that will India be able to meet its 50% of its energy needs from renewable energy? Now, the question is, what is the need to generate 50% of our total energy from renewables? So you will introduce the topic by highlighting the importance of renewable energy in the country or in the world. You will introduce the topic by highlighting the problems of climate change and how we have made certain commitments in the international platforms that by 2030 we are going to have 50% of our installed capacity from the renewables. So in introduction, you are going to highlight India's renewable energy program, the target that we had set, wherein the government says that by 2030, we will have 500 gigawatts of our total installed capacity from the renewables, out of which 280 gigawatt has to be from solar and 140 gigawatt has to be from the wind. Then the examiner, this is just the introduction part. The main question is, do you think India will be able to achieve this? Now, on what basis will you say that India will be able to or will not be able to achieve this? You can say, because it is an open-ended question, you can say, yes, India will be able to achieve, and then you can justify your answer. And second, you can say, no, India will not be able to achieve, or it seems less likely that India will be able to achieve, and then you can justify your answer. Because the second part of the question says, how will the shift of subsidies from fossil fuels to renewables help achieve the above objective? This basically is telling the fact that at present, the path looks very difficult, but if we are able to shift the subsidies, then something may happen. Okay, so the first part, first after introduction, then come to the question, do you think? Now, if I look at the present day structure, the present day policy says that by 2022, the target is 175 gigawatts of total installed capacity in India has to be from renewables, and out of which 100 gigawatt has to be from solar itself. Now we are running into this month of October, and we are having approximately 115 gigawatt approximately as the total installed capacity in the country with the renewables. Target is 175 gigawatts and the total installed capacity at present is 115 gigawatts. The target for solar is 100 gigawatt, and if you look at the total installed capacity with solar, it is approximately, we have 57 gigawatt. Wind mein target was 60 gigawatt for wind, and in case of wind, the installed capacity at present is approximately 40 gigawatt. So if I look at the present day target that we had set for 2022, now this target looks almost impossible. So, or very less likely that we will be able to achieve this target. Now the question is not about the target of 2022, but about the target of 2030. That means now from 115 gigawatt, we have to increase the capacity to 500 gigawatt. That is, if we are to achieve this in the next 8 years, in the next 8 years, we will have to generate, or we will have to add a capacity of almost 400 gigawatts in the next 8 years. Now, this looks very difficult. Now, if you look at the National Solar Mission, when we started with this mission, in the past 12 years, what we have done is, we have added just 57 gigawatts of the capacity. And that too, if we leave this year 2021, the capacity addition in the years before 2021 till 2017, the capacity addition was very minimal. Even if suppose you say that 2020 was the corona year or it was a pandemic year where the activities were subdued. What about 2018? What about 2019? So we are not able to move at the pace at which we should move if we have to achieve this target. So as of now, how will you justify? You cannot predict about what is going to happen in future. But suppose I am to justify, now I am going to look at the past record. See, looking at the past record, I cannot say it will, whatever has not been done in the past, it cannot be done in the past. Or it cannot be done in the future as well. But looking at the past record, a number of things can be analyzed. So it is not impossible, we can do so, but at present it seems less likely looking at what we have been doing since the past few years in the country. Now, once this part is over, so first you will introduce the topic, what is the need for generating 50% of our energy from the renewables. You will highlight climate change problems, you will talk about India's commitment, the target of 50% that the government has come up with. Then you will come to whether we will be able to do so or not. And you may take any stand, but as of now, looking at the statistics, it looks very clear that it is less likely that we will be able to achieve this target unless we make some changes in our policies. Because if we keep on going with the same pace as we have been going right now, then the target looks far away, if not impossible. Okay, so second part is, so first part you have answered. Second part is, how will the shift of subsidies from fossil fuels to renewables help achieve this objective? Explain. Now basically this question that was picked by the examiner, he has taken the question from a report that is almost released every year, Mapping India's Energy Policy 2022, where the report highlights how we have maximum of the subsidies that are given to energy sector go to fossil fuels. Now, it is a general misconception that we have maximum of subsidies given to solar energy, where you must have read about Kusum scheme, where you must have read about solar rooftop program, and in all of those schemes, the subsidies are given. But in many cases, you are not aware about the subsidies that are given to, let's say, coal, or let's say gas-based power plants. Now, this report, I have the copy of the report which says that the subsidies for renewable energy decreased by, the report itself in 2022 says that subsidies on renewable energy decreased by 59% in 2019. See, you may not have read that report, or you may not have the figures with you, so you may not be able to quote exact what has been the percent of subsidies that are given. But at least you must be knowing that there are certain subsidies that are given to the fossil fuel, certain subsidies that are given to the renewable energy sector. What has happened is that subsidies in the renewable energy have been brought down, especially after 2017 and especially with respect to wind energy. A number of subsidies were earlier given to the wind energy projects, and those have been withdrawn after 2017. For example, a subsidy given was generation-based incentive. So that subsidy generation-based incentive has been withdrawn. Moreover, coal pay, there are certain subsidies given. For example, subsidies given on coal is that we have a concessional GST of 5%, whereas the other minerals attract a rate of 18%. If you are having a concessional GST of just 5%, that means coal-based power will be cheaper than the solar-based power. When coal-based power will be cheaper than solar-based power, then in that case, the coal-based power will have an edge over the renewables. So DISCOMs are likely to purchase that power. Then the government, it also gave an exemption to the coal-based thermal power plants, exemption from using the washed coal. That is, without washing, coal can be used. And if coal can be used without washing, which was even considered as a subsidy, that in that case, the cost of washing is saved. And as a result, though this coal is going to pollute the environment, but at the same time, coal-based power will be cheaper. Acha, number of subsidies that have been withdrawn, I told you in the case of renewable energy, generation based in case of wind energy, generation based incentive. Or recently, in April 2022, basic customs duty of 40% that has been imposed. So, in order to promote Make in India, the manufacturing of solar panels in the country, government has imposed a basic customs duty of 40% on the solar panels and 25% on the solar cells. Now, as a result, what is going to happen? As a result, this solar power will become costly, and at the same time, when the cost of solar power generation is increasing, the cost of coal-based power is decreasing because of concessional GST, because of exemption given from the coal washing. So this is going to work in favor of coal and against the solar energy. Now, when you have to increase the solar power generation, wind power generation, or small hydro generation, then in that case, you have to provide incentives to the sector. So if you shift your subsidies, let's say you promote wind energy, maximum of the capacity added, if you open up the website of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, maximum capacity addition was in 2016-17 in case of wind. That means uske baad se capacity addition has been less because number of incentive subsidies have been withdrawn by the government. So we need to provide the subsidies in order to increase the renewable energy generation in the country. Okay, so you will have to explain how the subsidies will help in promoting this industry. You can give examples like one reason why the solar energy, wind energy, they started having a good share was the feed-in tariff system wherein a fixed profit was given to the power producers. Later on, this feed-in tariff system was scrapped. Abhi, when solar power is being generated in India, the website of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy says the lowest tariff is 1.99 rupees a unit. This is unsustainable. You cannot sustain this tariff for long. So you need to have new policies wherein certain incentives are given to these sectors. Okay, so first part, you can quote the past statistics, past records, and then on that basis you can justify your answer. And don't use words like, no, it is not possible, or you can say it is less likely. It seems a bit difficult task. Okay. And shift in subsidies, then you start mentioning how the subsidies are given to coal and how it is helping the coal-based thermal power plants. The power is generated at lesser rate, and how the subsidies have been withdrawn from the renewables. See, now analyzing the paper becomes easy that you have access to the reports, but many of these students, they might not have access to those reports. They might not have read those reports, or they were highlighted in most of the newspapers. So in that case, even without those reports, you can write a good answer here. Okay, so moving to the next question. What are, question 13, paper 3, what are so this is also like the previous question, 15-mark question, which says, what are the main bottlenecks in upstream and downstream process of marketing of agricultural products in India? Question mark. What are the main bottlenecks in upstream and downstream process of marketing of agriculture products in India? Now, there are keywords here. One, upstream and downstream. Second, marketing. Third, agriculture products. Okay. So basically the examiner is asking, what are the major constraints, what are the major problems about marketing the agriculture products in India? And he is basically asking you to categorize these marketing problems into problems of upstream areas and problems of downstream areas. See, upstream, the students who are the students who are part of Vajiram, they must be knowing that we do in class backward-forward linkages, same as upstream and downstream linkages. See, you have to keep in mind, one, that when you introduce the question, you will introduce the question by highlighting the importance of agriculture market. Now, if I'm a farmer, if I'm producing a crop, suppose I'm a farmer who is producing 10 kg of a crop in area, I sell it at 10 rupees a kg in the market and I make 100 rupees. If I invest in good fertilizer, if I invest in good seeds, if I invest in machines, and I produce 20 kg of the same crop in the same area. But if I don't have access to market, surplus of produce is going to bring down the crop. And if the price in the market is, let's say, reduced to 5 rupees a kg, still I make the same 100 rupees. Now, in this case, the problem will be that I have made a lot of investment in the backward linkage, in fertilizer, in seeds, in pesticides, but that does not bring any kind of monetary benefit for me. So if the marketing system is not in place, if it is not functioning properly, then in that case, we will have a problem that the farmers will not be motivated to increase the agriculture production. First. Second, if the marketing systems are not proper, then the consumers may pay a higher price. What if there are large number of intermediaries between the farmer and the final consumer? Then in that case, the consumers will pay a higher price and the farmers will have a small share in the final consumer price. So when you will start the question, you are basically going to highlight the importance of agriculture marketing, that why do we need a market that works in a state of competition? Why do we need to have a good market structure in the country? So first introduce the question in not more than 3-4 lines, highlighting the importance of market, highlighting the significance of agriculture marketing. Significance or importance for both the farmers as well as for the final consumers. Okay. Then the question says, main bottleneck in the upstream and downstream process of marketing of agriculture products in India. See, you have to keep in mind that the question is not on upstream and downstream process of agriculture. The question is upstream and downstream process of marketing of agriculture products. So we are going to talk about the upstream issues in marketing and downstream issues in marketing. Not the upstream issues in agriculture, downstream issues in agriculture. No, it is the upstream issues in market and then downstream issues in market. When you look at the upstream issues in the market, upstream issues basically mean what all are the bottlenecks that are there when before the farmer sells his produce to the market. If I'm a farmer and I'm going to sell my produce in the market, what are the main problems that I'm going to face? This is what I'm going to mention here. Once the produce has been sold and before it reaches to the final consumer, what are the main bottlenecks here that is going to affect the consumer? This is what I'm going to write here. Okay. So upstream, the problems that the farmer faces. Downstream, the problem that we have once the produce has been sold by the farmer. Now, when you look at the upstream issues of marketing, suppose I'm a farmer, I'm going to sell my produce in the mandi. The basic problem is in many of the states, still the farmers are under a compulsion to sell their produce in the APMC mandi. Most of the states have not enacted any amendment to the APMR Act where still there is a compulsion on the farmers to go to the mandi to sell their produce. As a result, there may be a good amount of distance between the field of the farmer and the APMC mandi. And on an average, the mandi covers an area of 432 kilometers square. That means mandis cover a large area. That means there may be a good distance between the farmer's field and the mandi. And there are states wherein the area covered by mandi is 11,000 kilometers square. 11,000 kilometers square is the area covered by mandi in certain states. Then when I look at this, a state like Meghalaya, the farmer will have to take his produce to almost 100 kilometers before he reaches the mandi. Whereas Dr. M.S. Swaminathan in the National Commission of Farmers says that mandis or agriculture markets should not cover an area of more than 80 kilometers square. That means if the mandis or the marketplaces are close to the farmer's field, then the farmer will not have to spend much on transportation. So one point you're going to mention is because there's large area covered by the APMC mandis, it increases the distance between the mandi and the farmer's field, and as a result of which the farmer faces problem where he has to spend a large amount on transportation. This is the first problem that the farmer faces. Second, now when the farmer goes to the APMC mandi, the second problem is problem of cartelization in the mandi, problem where the auction is not transparent, problem where the prices have been pre-decided very often. So this is the problem that the farmer faces. Third, suppose I'm a farmer and I find problems in the APMC mandi. Then in that case, what is the support that the government gives me? Government gives me MSP. But the problem is, though the government announces MSP for a large number of crops, MSP related procurement takes place only few of the crops. Rice, wheat, cotton, sugarcane are the 4 crops on which there is some decent level of procurement. So if I'm a farmer not cultivating any of these crops, then in that case, I may not get the government supports. Or even if I'm cultivating rice, but in a state like Bihar where the procurement is very limited, then in that case, we may not get the government support. So this is the problem in the marketing of the agriculture produce faced by the farmer. Then, when I'm talking about farmers of India, what we need is, see, the kind of land that we have in India, we have huge land, a lot of agriculture land is there in the country, and tropical conditions. Farmers can cultivate the land as much as 3 times in a year. So when it comes to market cannot be just simple domestic market. We need to focus on the international market as well. With such a large area in India, our share in the world trade of agri-commodities is just 3%. So if I want the farmers to have a better price, what I need to do is farmers should sell his produce to exporters. But in that case, problem is we don't have a stable agri-export policy, where export policy is very often used as a tool to tame the domestic inflation. So this is another bottleneck that we have in the upstream issues of agriculture, marketing of agriculture produce in India. Now, once this is the problem, suppose, then what if the crop has been sold? What is the problem that is faced? The second problem is the Niti Aayog study, if you remember, people who are part of Vajiram, that we have mentioned that Niti Aayog report says that maximum of the post-harvest losses, they take place within the APMC mandis, where mandis do not have necessary infrastructure for value addition. So this is a concern that once the produce has been sold, good amount of produce gets damaged. And because it gets damaged, then the price for the final consumer increases. We have problems related to shortage of warehouses. We have problems related to shortage of supply chain or cold chain infrastructure. We have problems related to warehousing, where we are facing shortage of simple warehouse or cold storages. We have problems of transportation, where we need transportation systems which are quick, which are cost effective, plus we need refrigerated transport, which is not there. So we need these systems. These are the bottlenecks. So during transportation, a lot of damage takes place. A lot of warehouses are not well maintained, where the sprouting of grain takes place. Then you will write about processing. That is, we don't have enough of processing systems in India, and because we don't have processing, we have again the post-harvest losses. We are able to sell the unprocessed items, and unprocessed items have a short shelf life and they fetch a lesser price in the market. So basically the question is about upstream issues of upstream downstream process of marketing. It is not about just agriculture, but of agriculture marketing. Okay. So this is what you are going to write, and then you can conclude your answer by highlighting certain government schemes for improving the market, or you can write about need for agriculture liberalization in India, how the liberalization of agriculture is going to attract new investment, is going to provide new avenues to the farmers for marketing the produce. So not directly but indirectly the question was on liberalization of agriculture market itself. Chalo. Next question. What is integrated farming system? how is it helpful to small and marginal farmers in India? Again, a 15-mark question which says, what is integrated farming system? Question mark. How is it helpful to small and marginal farmers of India? Okay, the question was simple because a similar question was asked in 2019 as well. Now the question is straightforward. What is integrated farming system? That means examiner is asking you just the definition or what do you mean by this system. So no need for giving a background in this question. Just define what is integrated farming system. You can say integrated farming system is a system of agriculture where the farmers, they will cultivate the crops and along with the crops they have the non-crop options or they practice allied agricultural activities. Like for example, I am cultivating sugarcane and along with sugarcane I have some cattle in my backyard. Or suppose I am cultivating maize and I have some poultry birds in my backyard. I am cultivating mustard and I have the option of apiculture. Or for example, I am cultivating rice. Along with rice, I have the option of fisheries. So you can define this integrated farming system. Now added to this integrated farming system is another dimension of renewable energy. See, the farmers are producing a lot of agriculture residue. Farmers, they have large areas, so the farmers can also generate income from the renewables. You say, now the concept has come, concept of solar trees, where within your field, you can have the solar trees where the solar panels will be placed on those trees and they can generate power. What if your land is degraded and your land is not capable of producing the crops? You can use that land for production of solar power by installing solar panels. What if you're generating a lot of animal dung in your field and as a result of which this animal dung can be used for production of biogas, which can be used for energy generation? So added to this mixed agriculture integrated farming dimension is this concept of renewable energy. Okay? So first, simple question is there, what is integrated farming system? Just give an answer that this is integrated farming and this includes these many components. Okay. Second is, how is it helpful to small and marginal farmers in India? Now the question, it says, how is it helpful to small and marginal farmers in India? So there are certain assumptions here. One assumption is, it is going to help the small and marginal farmers. So examiner is not asking you whether it will help or whether it will not help. Examiner is telling you how will it help. You tell me how will it help, but it is assumed that it is going to help. Second, small and marginal farmers are facing certain problems. Only because when I face certain problems which I'm not able to solve by myself, I would need somebody's help. So small and marginal farmers, the assumption is, are facing certain problems, they need some help and the integrated farming system can help the small and marginal farmers here. Okay, so this is the second part of the question where this is the basic assumption of the examiner. So now in this you can introduce the topic by highlighting the problems of small and marginal farmers. Or we need to solve the problem because they make up a large number of India's farmer group. So you can start, let's say, by saying small and marginal farmers, according to Agriculture Census 2018, make up 86.2% of the total farmers in India. These are the farmers who are cultivating crops in the most underdeveloped agricultural regions where they suffer from problems of poverty, problems related to frequent crop failures. These are bulk of these make the farmers who are migrating out of the rural areas because agriculture is not able to provide them remunerative income. These are those people who are suffering from problems of malnutrition where children are suffering from stunted growth. These are the farmers who are witnessing declining incomes over a period of year because of the input cost being very high for cultivation. So in one paragraph, you introduce the topic and then you introduce the topic by highlighting the problems of small and marginal farmers. Then how will you solve those problems? You will solve those problems. How will the integrated farming system help? One, integrated farming system is going to help by providing complementary services. I am a farmer. I am finding the inputs very costly. Fertilizer is very costly for me. Now the price of DAP is increasing, price of other fertilizers are increasing. So in that case, I may not be able to afford these fertilizers. Plus we have a system of black marketing in many cases. So if I want to make my field fertile, what will I do? So in that case, the allied agricultural activities, they are going to provide me that kind of input. Like I am cultivating sugarcane, I have some cattle in my backyard. Then what is going to happen is cattle dung can be used as farmyard manure. Plus sugarcane leaves can be fed to the cattle. I am having maize cultivation along with poultry birds. Poultry birds, they will have excreta. Excreta is a nutritious, it is considered as a manure. It is useful for the soil. And as a result, the maize is the diet of the poultry. So complementary services, it will provide certain services to the farmers wherein certain inputs the farmer can get from these animals. Now these the government is focusing on natural farming. In natural farming, Jeevamrit, Bijamrit, they require the cow dung, they require cow urine. So these items, they will reduce the input cost of the farmer. And if the input cost of the farmer is reduced, then there will be less burden on the farmer, less distress in the rural areas. First. Second, when it talk about this, another complementary nature will be, the corporate service will be, now most of the small and marginal farmers have small pieces of land. They have fragmented land as well. And when you have small and fragmented farm holding, you're not able to purchase machines. You cannot effectively utilize machines. But if you have cattle in your backyard, you have buffaloes in your backyard, then they will provide you certain services as well, which are otherwise performed by the machines, like plowing the field, or for example, drawing an animal drawn cart, or for example, running a Persian wheel. So these services can be given. Okay. Then second will be augmented income, that is additional income will be given. So they are going to give you an additional income, and you can sell milk in the market, you can sell fishes in the market, you can sell, let's say, honey in the market. So an additional income will be given. The best part is not only it will give you an additional income, but it is likely to give you a highly liquid income. For example, if I'm a dairy farmer and I'm also cultivating sugarcane, I will sell sugarcane and I will sell sugarcane once in a year. It is taking a lot of time. It will give me amount once in a year. But I need to run my family. And for running my family, I need cash on daily basis. Then what do? I will go to the Aarti and the Mandi and he will give me a loan, but at a high rate of interest. But what if I have cattle in my backyard? If I have cattle in my backyard, then in that case, I will sell milk in the market, and on daily basis and on weekly basis, I'm going to get the income. So not only an additional income, but we will get an income which is highly liquid in nature on daily or on weekly basis. Third, it will provide nutritional security. So it will provide nutritional security. If suppose I am a poor farmer, small and marginal farmer, I may not be able to afford milk for my children, which is being sold at, let's say, 60 rupees a litre. But if I am a farmer who has cattle in my backyard, then in that case, my children will have a direct access to milk. My children will have a assured supply of milk. And milk is a complete food in itself. So my children may get an assured supply of eggs as well. So in that case, the problem of malnutrition, it can be sorted. Or for example, security in case of a lean season. What if I am cultivating paddy in, let's say, Jharkhand? What if there is less rainfall? I'm not able to cultivate paddy because of this, like we have droughts this year. Then in that case, if I have animals in my backyard, I can use some part of my land for cultivating the animal fodder. And fodder crops, these are short duration crops. Fodder crops don't require much of water. And at least I can sustain myself by selling the output that is given by those animals to me. So it is going to give me a security in the lean season. Third, very important is that this activity it is going to, non-crop options are going to help the women folk as well. You can link it with women empowerment as well. A good amount of milk that is collected, that is given to the dairies, these are collected and given by the women. So this will give the women the financial independence. So you can first highlight the problems, then how these problems can be solved by the integrated farming system. I'm having problems related to high debt. I am having a problem related to low income. Then I can sell solar power and additional income will be given. Okay. I have a problem related to low income. I can sell milk. I can get an illiquid income. I have a problem malnutrition. Then the milk and meat will be provided to my family in that case. I am under a lot of debt because I will have to purchase inputs at a very high cost, but they will provide me certain complementary services. So this is what you have to mention in this answer. Then again, conclusion, you can mention certain schemes that the government is coming up with for integrated farming system. Okay, and how this is important for making agriculture sustainable, both ecologically and economically. Okay, so these were the 3 questions from Economic and Social Geography in paper 3. Now we'll come to paper 1. So, discuss the natural resource potentials of Deccan Trap. It was a 10-marker question. So the question is, discuss the natural resource potential of Deccan Trap. See, because it is a 10-marker question, you cannot write a very lengthy introduction. Just mention what do you understand by this term Deccan Trap. Okay, where do we have this Deccan Trap? Okay. See, Deccan Trap is not to be confused with the Deccan Plateau. Deccan Plateau is different from Deccan Trap. Or you can say, within the Deccan Plateau, we have Deccan Trap. So Deccan Plateau will include Maharashtra Plateau, Karnataka Plateau and Telangana Plateau. And within the Maharashtra Plateau, there are giant step-like structures which were formed during the Cretaceous time, when the Indian plate was covered with, a good part of Indian plate was covered with the volcanoes, volcanic activity that covered magma from deeper parts of the mantle. So we had hotspot volcanic activity and that created some giant steps, and we have some hills here which are known as the Deccan Traps. So Deccan Trap, basically you're going to define what is Deccan Trap, where do we find Deccan Traps in India. Okay. Then the question is natural resource potential. Now when I look at this term natural resource, what is meant by this natural resource? Now you cannot limit your answer to just the minerals that are present. Natural resource will mean forest resources. Natural resource will mean the energy resources. It will mean the minerals that are present. Okay. So it will mean the resources of water, that is both surface and groundwater. Okay. So it will mean the resource like soil. If the soil is fertile, it is itself a resource. So when you look at the natural resources, then natural resource can be soil resources, forest resources, energy resources, minerals and water resources, both surface as well as groundwater resources. Now the question is resource potential of Deccan Trap. So we are not asking whether we are able to tap this, but what is the potential? So now, what are the areas of Deccan Traps? You will mention first. You may draw a diagram here. Diagram will add the value to the answer. So you will mention that when Indian plate was moving over rain and hotspots, then volcanic lava erupted and it covered large areas of the country. And in many areas of Maharashtra, we have large giant steps which are known as Deccan Traps. And these are the areas which are flat-topped hills. Take a part of Deccan Plateau. Once you have mentioned Deccan Traps, then you write about the soil resources. What is the soil resource potential. This is the area where we have the soil which is formed by the disintegration of basaltic lava, and the soil which is formed by disintegration of basaltic lava is the black soil. And this black soil, it is rich in calcium, it is rich in magnesium, it is rich in iron, and as a result it is important for cultivation. You can mention certain crops. Crops like sugarcane, cotton, they can be supported here. We have forest resources. If I look at this region of Chandrapur, the region of Gadchiroli, the regions of Bhandara, all of these are basically the areas which are forested areas. So huge forest potential is there. Okay, then we look at the energy resources. Again, in the areas of Vardha Valley, in the areas around Chandrapur, this is an area where we have good amount of coal present. So huge resources of coal are present in this particular area. Then coal is Gondwana coal here, which can be used for energy generation. Minerals, what are the minerals here? In the areas of Chandrapur, we have iron ore which is present. Take it. So we will not include the areas of Ratnagiri, areas of Sindhudurg where iron ore is present, because that is part of Western Ghats. Deccan Trap is not same as Western Ghats. Okay, so you will write about minerals like iron ore present in Chandrapur, or for example, limestone present in Yavatmal, Nagpur, Bhandara, or for example, kyanite present in this same area of Chandrapur, or even bauxite present in the regions around southern Maharashtra, Kolhapur. So this is what you're going to write. Water resources. You can write about the rivers that are flowing here and how these rivers can be tapped and this resource potential can be used. For example, you may talk about how the development of dams in the regions around Pune, Ahmednagar have changed the cropping patterns. Groundwater. We don't have much of groundwater here. Groundwater may be present only in those areas where we have some fractures or where we have some fissures, and that is fossil water. So not much of groundwater is present. The simple question that we have these as the natural resources. First, explain what is Deccan Trap, then draw a map, and then these are the natural resources that are present in those areas. Then towards the end, even though it is 10 marker, just one line of conclusion that we need sustainable exploration of these reserves. Okay. Another question. So the question is, examine the potential of wind energy in India and explain the reasons for limited spatial spread. Okay. 10 mark question here. So not lengthy introduction because we have a lot of matter to write here. Just start the answer with the benefits of wind energy. Why do we need wind energy in India? And then examine the potential. And when I look at the potential, what will this potential depend on? Take it. When you look at the wind energy, the amount of energy that we are generating or that we can generate, it is directly dependent on the wind speed. It is directly dependent on the wind speed. If the wind speed is more, then in that case, you can produce more amount of energy. Now, 2016-17 National Institute of Wind Energy said the potential is 100 gigawatt. Okay? Because whatever wind that we have, they analyze that the potential is 100 gigawatt. But when you look at potential to a large extent also depends on the technology used. With the change in technology, the potential will also change. 2017 mein, National Institute of Wind Energy says, no, the potential is 300 gigawatts. Because now when we have the windmills can be raised to a greater height. This was the potential of wind energy at 80 meters. And this is the potential of wind energy at 100 meters, because now with the new technology, windmills can have a larger wingspan and they can be raised to a greater height. And greater is the height, less is the force of friction, greater will be the wind of speed. And greater is the wind of speed, more will be the power generation. So potential will depend on the technology. Like earlier, we were focusing only on the wind energy plants which were located onshore, but now we have offshore wind energy projects as well. And if you go into the open ocean, wind blows with even greater speed, less of friction, and as a result of which, more of potential. So as of now, you have a lot of potential, and the government says that at a height of 100 meters, 300 gigawatt is the potential. But potential will depend on the technology used. So we're writing all of this because the word is examine. Okay? So you have to examine what is the potential. You have to tell the examiner deeply what is the potential here. Explain the reasons for spatial spread, limited spatial spread. Limited spatial spread mein you can write about how the wind energy projects are so limited in the northern parts of India. They are in the southern parts of India because we have a long coastline. And because we have a long coastline, wind which is coming from the ocean, it is coming with lot of speed, so there is a potential. But North India mein, we have the continental location, and because of which we may not have a strong wind like what we have in South India. So as a result of which there is a limited spatial spread. Then you can also mention things that the government has withdrawn a number of benefits from wind energy projects. So whatever addition was there up till 2017, uske baad it has slowed down because number of incentives have been withdrawn, especially when solar energy is now the face of India's renewable energy program. So number of benefits have been withdrawn, and this is creating certain issues. Okay, so you will write about the limited spatial spread, and then towards conclusion, you can mention about the benefits that the wind energy can provide, and why do we need wind energy, and what are the government schemes, let's say. So you can write a conclusion about how we can promote the wind energy, or why do we need to promote it. Next question. Describing the distribution of rubber producing countries indicate the major So it's a 15-mark question. The question says, describing the distribution of rubber producing countries indicate the major environmental issues faced by them. Question is not about listing the major rubber producing countries. The question is describing. Okay? So it is describing the distribution of rubber producing countries in the world. So when you are writing, you just don't have to write the names. Just a small introduction is required wherein you can say rubber can be naturally produced from trees, and those trees are cultivated, or those trees require humid conditions for their cultivation. These trees, they can be cultivated in tropical areas, and they require large amount of water, so they find their place in the areas where rainfall is high. And a number of equatorial countries, they have the rubber cultivation. For example, we have rubber cultivation in Thailand, we have rubber cultivation in Malaysia, we have rubber cultivation in Indonesia, we have rubber cultivation in Vietnam, and we have rubber cultivation in India as well. And in India, we have rubber cultivation in Kerala, maximum of it, and some of it is present in, let's say, Tripura, in some parts of Assam, and some parts of Meghalaya as well. So you will write about the countries, but at the same time, you will also mention why do we have rubber cultivation in those areas. So one reason is that rubber cultivation require a certain type of climate. Though these trees were taken to this area by the Europeans, and forests were cut down in the areas of Malaysia, in areas of Indonesia for making way for rubber plantations. But they could be taken from South America to this particular area because these areas had the climatic conditions. ठीक है. So describing में not just list the countries but also give a write up along with that rubber requires a good amount of rainfall and this is cultivated in those areas where rainfall is on the higher side, and we have rubber cultivation in these countries where it was taken into these countries from South America by the Europeans, and यहाँ पर in India also we have rubber cultivation. अच्छा, indicate the major environmental issues faced by them. Now, what are the major environmental issues? Suppose if a tree is there which is not endemic to a particular area, it has been taken from somewhere else and planted. Then in that case, first in order to plant that trees, you will have to cut the traditional forest. If I look at areas of Malaysia, Indonesia, these are not the areas where rubber was naturally present. That means when rubber was taken to this area and large areas are now under rubber cultivation, that means those areas where we had the traditional climax communities, those had been cut and in their place we have the rubber. So there will be a problem related to deforestation. There will be a problem related to biodiversity loss, habitat loss as well. So one basic issue that we have with the natural rubber cultivation is rubber will be cultivated at the cost of the traditional trees of the area. Now, if you have any information, let's say related to the area under cultivation or how it has been spreading, you can mention about it. Yes, I got some data with me which says in South Asia, rubber monoculture took over 250,000 hectares of natural forest and 61,000 hectares of forest area between 2005 and 2010. That means those areas where we had the traditional trees, they have been replaced by the rubber plantations. And as a result, what will happen to the biodiversity of those areas? This is an area where we have a high species richness. But now we have a monoculture. So it will be a biological desert, where instead of those trees which were able to support a lot of wildlife as well, great species were there, but all of these are now replaced by just one tree, that is rubber. In India as well, northeast mein in 1976-77, 574 hectares of land was under rubber. Now it is 70,000 hectares. In Assam, 2006-2007, we had 16,500 hectares and now it is 50,000 hectares. So you can give, now it is easy for me to get the data and give the data to you. You might not have the data, but you can generalize the question itself. You can say, okay, this is one problem. Problem related to the deforestation, problem related to monoculture, problem related to loss of traditional forests or climax communities and habitat loss associated with this. This is one. Second is processing of rubber. When you extract the latex, from the rubber tree, then the latex may have almost 30 to 40% of rubber in it. But this liquid, some anticoagulants are added. Like for example, you may add ammonia, or you will have to add sodium sulfide. So not only cultivation, but the question is rubber producing countries. That means we may cultivate rubber, usse problem ho sakti hai. But when we are processing rubber, natural rubber, also in that case, we have certain problems. So we will have problems wherein when rubber is processed, these chemicals like ammonia, these chemicals like sodium sulfide, they will be let into the water bodies because these are the areas where rainfall is heavy. So they will be let into the water bodies. It may lead to acidification of water bodies. The number of studies related to the acidification of water bodies in those particular areas. Plus, when you're cultivating rubber under monitored conditions, you will be using fertilizers, chemicals, you will be using chemical pesticides. And all of this will contaminate the soil health, will contaminate the groundwater. So these are the basic problems that we have, environmental problems that you have in those countries where rubber is produced. So you may conclude the question by if you know about certain technologies where rubber can be reused. See, rubber is a natural product. It can be biodegradable, but it takes long time to degrade. So you can talk about certain techniques which can make it degradable, or certain techniques wherein the rubbers can be reused, so that less of area comes under rubber, but at the same time our business is not affected. Okay. Chalo, thank you very much.